The ghost school on the outskirts. There are buildings every city tries to forget. Places that rot at the edges of maps, left to collapse under the weight of their own silence. On the outskirts of town, beyond the factories and the train yards, stands one of those places. The old Ashwood School. The windows are broken. The roof is torn open in places, exposing the skeletal beams beneath. Graffiti stains the walls, and weeds choke the playground where children once ran. Yet the locals don't just avoid it because it is abandoned. They avoid it because of what they've heard. They say the school is not empty, that when the sun goes down and the mist rises from the fields, the halls echo with the sounds of children who are no longer alive. The legend begins in the 1960s, when the school was thriving. Ashwood was small, a place where every child knew every other by name. But then came the fire. One autumn evening, smoke poured from the east wing. The fire spread too fast, cutting off the only stairwell. 22 children and a teacher were trapped inside. By the time help arrived, it was too late. The building never reopened. Instead, it was sealed. Doors chained, windows boarded, left as a tomb on the edge of town. But the stories never stopped. Teenagers dared each other to sneak inside. Some returned pale and trembling, whispering of shadows in the classrooms, of desks that moved on their own. Others claimed they heard the fire still raging in the distance. The crackle of flames, the screams of children, even though the school has been cold for decades. One boy swore that when he entered the gym he saw them. Rows of children, standing silently in the dark. Their eyes hollow, their mouths black with soot. When he blinked, they were gone, but the smell of smoke clung to his clothes for days. Another girl, braver than most, walked the hall with a flashlight. She said the beam flickered as she passed the old lockers, each one dented and rusted. And then, faintly, she heard the sound of books falling, as though invisible hands knocked them from the shelves. She turned, and in the reflection of a shattered window, she swore she saw a figure behind her. A teacher. Her face burned away, holding a roll call sheet. The locals say you can hear her voice on certain nights, counting the names of the children who died, over and over, never finishing the list. Skeptics laugh, saying it's just the wind through broken glass. But those who have been inside know the truth. Ashwood is not just haunted, it remembers. Walk too far into the east wing, and the air grows heavy. The smell of smoke fills your lungs, and the walls seem to flicker with orange light. You begin to cough, though there is no fire. And then you hear it, the faint sound of a school bell, not a modern tone. An old iron bell, the kind pulled by rope. It rings once, twice, and then the hallways fill with footsteps. Small, rapid, overlapping. The sound of children running to class. Except there are no children left to run. The bravest claim that if you enter room 12, where the fire was worst, you will see them. Not as corpses, not as skeletons, but as shadows burned into the walls, moving still, replaying the last moments of their lives. Hands on windows, bodies pressed against doors, frozen in terror for eternity. And if you stay too long, they notice you. The shadows turn their heads, and they begin to run towards you. No one who has seen this has ever stayed inside after. They flee into the night, their screams echoing across the empty fields. The old Ashwood School still stands today. The town council refuses to demolish it. Some say it is because the ground is cursed. Others whisper that every time they try, workers quit, claiming to hear voices calling their names. So the building remains, rotting, watching, waiting. And if you ever walk the outskirts of town at night, when the mist rises, look carefully. If you see faint lights flickering through the broken windows, if you hear the sound of desks scraping across the floor, or the distant toll of a bell that hasn't rung in 50 years, do not go inside, because the children are still there, and they have been waiting a very, very long time.